All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're taking on
Oh, this is a big one.
this is a big one. This is the Know Yourself books.
Know thyself, right?
Know thyself, exactly. A big topic. We have a great source though. It is from a book summary site called Bookie.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking specifically at page 3 of their best Know Yourself books of all time.
That's a deep list right there on just one page.
So much good stuff here. We're going to pull out some really, I think, interesting stuff for you. We'll cover things like, oh gosh, there's philosophy, there's psychology.
A little bit of astrology, maybe.
There's some astrology in here too. And even some like ancient Hawaiian wisdom. So
Runs the gamut?
it does run the gamut. So
Should be a good time.
I think it's going to be a really interesting deep dive. Let's start off with philosophy. That feels like a good foundation to start with. We've got Schopenhauer's The Wisdom of Life. This quote here really sets the tone, I think. It says, dive into the timeless reflections of one of philosophy's most profound thinkers. The wisdom of life is a masterpiece that illuminates the essence of true contentment.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And, you know, he really...
It's a great
quote. And he really focuses on the idea of, like, inward reflection, right? Like, going deep inside. And the idea that, like, true contentment comes from... I'm going to butcher this quote, but, like... It basically comes from things like
self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge, happiness, virtue.
Those inner qualities.
Yes, those inner qualities, not material wealth and social status. So what are some, it's such a good idea. What are some inner qualities that you feel like you're really cultivating?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, one of the big ones is always trying to cultivate curiosity, like being curious about everything, all sorts of stuff, and open-mindedness. Because if you have those things, that to me is a form of inner wealth because you can always learn and grow and keep moving.
Totally.
How about you? What do you long?
I would say I'm always trying to cultivate my creativity, my own creative outlets, and because to me that is a form of self-expression that I really value, and I think that really speaks to this idea of inner wealth. Okay, we got another great one here. It is Bertrand Russell's The Problems of Philosophy.
Another classic.
Such a classic, yeah. And it...
This one's really about looking at the world with, like, fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And challenging those beliefs that we kind of take for granted. You know, like engaging with the why behind our thoughts and actions.
Yeah.
Isn't that a crucial part of self-discovery?
Yeah, I think so. I think you really have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me think of that quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living."
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, I feel like that really speaks to what he's talking about.
Socrates, yeah.
Like Socrates.
Yeah, I got Socrates.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we've got one more in the philosophy realm, which is David Hume's An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding.
This one's fun.
This one's fun.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
He basically says that we got to question everything, right? Even the way we perceive the world. He says that we should take like a really critical, inquisitive approach to those everyday experiences. And that includes questioning how we even perceive the world.
Yeah.
And how much we can trust our senses even. What a concept.
What a concept. I mean, so what would you say?
No less big.
Yeah, that's big. What would you say are some things that people maybe accept as truth that maybe they should question?
Oh, gosh. I would say that one that comes to mind immediately is the societal idea of success, right? Like, you know, needing a certain job title or a certain amount of money or a certain lifestyle to be considered successful. You know, he would probably say, question that assumption and see if those align with your values, your desires, and what you think is true for you.
Totally. Okay, so we've tackled some of the philosophical...
Oh, we did it. We got through it.
We did it. We survived. We survived the philosophy portion. Let's move on to psychology, because this is where things get really interesting. We have Freud, dreams, and Die Traumdeutung, which I believe translates to...
That's the interpretation of dreams.
The interpretation of dreams, yes. So he really, he was revolutionary in a lot of ways, but one of the things that he really kind of turned on its head was the idea that dreams aren't just random neuron firings.
Right.
But they are symbolic representations of our unconscious desires, fears, and unresolved conflicts.
Yes.
So how does that work? Like, how does dream interpretation work? Like, Could you give me like an example?
Oh, sure. Let's say you dream that you're being chased.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common one, right?
Yeah.
You might say that that dream is a manifestation of maybe like some anxiety or a feeling of being overwhelmed in your life, right? Like you're
Yeah.
being chased by something. And the chaser could be like a deadline or responsibility or even a part of yourself that you're trying to avoid.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple example, but
Yeah.
it's just, it shows you that you can actually
Yeah.
dive deep into these dreams and try to figure out what your subconscious is trying to tell you.
Totally. And that makes you want to pay attention to your dreams a lot more.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we have another one here that kind of bridges psychology and ancient wisdom, which is Serge Kahili King's Mastering Your Hidden Self.
I love this one.
Yeah.
It draws on the ancient Hawaiian Huna tradition,
Oh, nice.
which really emphasizes that everything's interconnected, like the
Mhm.
power of intention, the power of energy, all that. And he's saying that you can use this to like personally transform yourself. Like
That's awesome.
you can really dive deep into yourself and make some big changes.
Yeah, like tap into your hidden potential.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. And then we've got C.G. Jung, which of course we have to mention C.G. Jung when we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, the man,
Yeah.
the myth, the legend.
Yeah. His work on personality development, especially, he really emphasized this idea of integrating your conscious and unconscious realms to achieve like a well-rounded personality. So he's kind of
Putting it all together.
putting it all together, acknowledging all those parts of yourself.
Yep.
Okay, so we've talked about the mind in terms of philosophy and psychology, but this list doesn't stop there. We have some really interesting stuff that goes beyond traditional, like, Western thought.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
You've got Understanding Human Design by Karen Curry. This one
That
looks...
is a deep one.
It looks like a whole deep dive in itself, honestly. It's basically a system that maps out our unique energetic blueprint.
Oh, cool.
Right. Like almost like a user manual for our lives. So it's...
Love that idea.
I know, it's very cool. It combines like astrology, the I Ching, the
Yeah.
Kabbalah, and the chakra system. And it's supposed to give you this unique framework for understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your potential, everything. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And then we have Practical Intuition by Laura Day. She basically argues that intuition isn't some like mystical thing, but it's a skill that you can actually develop and use to make decisions. So how would you say, like, how can you...
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you cultivate it?
Yeah, how do you cultivate your intuition? What would you say?
Well, I think it starts with paying attention to those like gut feelings that you get, those subtle feelings and hunches. We often just dismiss those, but they might be our intuition trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
And then there's practices like meditation, journaling.
Yeah.
Spending time in nature can be really good. Just quieting the mind and creating space for those intuitive insights to come through.
Totally, totally. Okay, so
Hey, what else we got?
this is the last one in this little section. It's astrology. Sue Tompkins, Aspects in Astrology.
Of course. It had to be in there.
Had to be in there. It's a big topic. Astrology, I feel like, is having a moment, but it can really be a fascinating tool for self-exploration.
Oh, yeah, totally. And it's not about like predicting the future or anything. It's about understanding those archetypal energies, like the symbolism associated with our birth charts.
Yeah.
It can be really insightful.
Yeah. So what would you say are some like specific examples of how understanding your birth chart and the planetary relationships like can provide insights into your
Yeah, give me an example.
personality and behavior?
Okay, so let's say you have a prominent Mars in your chart. Mars is all about energy, action, assertiveness.
Okay.
That could mean that you're naturally driven, you're ambitious, you thrive on taking initiative, but it could also mean that you're maybe a little impulsive or quick to anger.
Oh.
So it's about understanding those tendencies and then working with them consciously. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So, okay, so we've done some really like heady concepts here with philosophy and psychology and ancient wisdom and even astrology, but let's get practical.
All right, I like it.
You've included some books that offer some really good, like actionable advice
Ooh, give me the good stuff.
for self-discovery. So we have Roadmap by Road Trip Nation. This one really caught my eye because
Yeah, that's a good one.
they really encourage you to define success on your own terms, not
Society's terms.
Not society's terms, exactly, which is so important. So what would you say are some of the, like, common misconceptions about success that hold people back from, like, really knowing themselves?
I think one of the biggest ones is this idea that success is like a linear path, that you got to go to college, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, blah, blah, blah. And that's just not true for everyone. Roadmap is like, hey, find your own path, even if it's unconventional.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people feel pressure to like fit into a mold that
Doesn't fit.
Yeah. Okay, we have another one. Living an Examined Life by James Hollis.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
He's a Jungian analyst.
Yeah.
And he basically says, like, hey, you got to confront those unconscious patterns.
Yeah.
Like, take responsibility for your personal growth. He says that a truly fulfilling life requires us to, like, dig beneath the surface and understand those forces that drive us. Our thoughts, our feelings, behaviors. All of it.
Yeah. It's like becoming an archaeologist of your soul, like really excavating those layers.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah. It can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can be.
But that's where the growth happens.
Totally. Okay, this next one, I love the name of this concept. It's from Lawrence Anderson's book. It's called Pebbles of Perception.
I love that. Pebbles of Perception.
It's so good. And he basically says that we need to be making thoughtful decisions.
Yeah. Be intentional.
And like honing our perception, really paying attention to how we're seeing the world.
And why we're seeing it that way.
Exactly. Okay, last one in this section is The Little Book of Humanism.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a good one.
Back to basics.
It really offers this framework for living a meaningful life based on reason, ethics, and compassion for all beings.
Yeah. Seeing ourselves as part of something bigger.
Yeah. So we've explored a whole range of approaches to self-knowledge here, from philosophy and psychology to ancient wisdom and practical advice.
Quite the journey.
It is quite a journey. It's amazing how many different paths can lead to the same destination, like a deeper understanding of ourselves.
That's the beauty of it, I think. There's no one right way.
There's no one right way. Yeah, I love that. So before we move on to the next section, I want to leave you, the listener, with a question. What resonated with you most from this initial exploration?
What sparked your curiosity? What made you think, I need to explore that further?
Yeah. Take a moment to reflect on that question, and we'll be back soon for the next part of our deep dive into this fascinating list of best know yourself books.
Can't wait. All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh, it's good to be back.
We left off talking about, humanism and this idea that we're all interconnected. And we're moving into some books now that really challenge us to examine those less than perfect parts of ourselves. What some people might call the shadow side.
I mean, that can be tough to confront those things.
Yeah, but it's important.
Absolutely. And I think this section is really all about that. It's like authenticity, vulnerability, embracing your true self.
Real talk, right?
Real talk. Yeah. It's like all these books are saying, hey, let's get real here.
Exactly. Like True Face by Bill Thrall.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good one. He says that true freedom comes from shedding those masks we wear, right? And embracing our authentic selves, even the parts that we might want to hide.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in presenting a certain image to the world.
Right.
And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
So much work. It makes me think of The Velveteen Principles.
Oh, yeah.
By Toni Rayton Antonio.
I love that book.
It's so good.
Classic.
She basically uses the story of the Velveteen Rabbit as a metaphor for
becoming real.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
The more worn we are, the more real we are.
Yeah. Like the more we embrace our experiences, the more worn and loved we become. And that's where the beauty lies.
Exactly. Letting go of that need to be perfect and embracing the messiness of being human.
Love that. Okay, so if we're striving for this, authenticity, how do we even...
Where do we begin?
Yeah, how do we even begin? And there's a lot of, frameworks, I guess, that these books offer.
Yeah, there's a few different approaches.
So we have C.G. Jung.
Oh, we got to have Jung.
We got to have Jung, of course.
Yeah.
The development of personality, he really emphasizes the interplay between personal development and the broader context. Yeah, the cultural context. And
how we're shaped by the world around us, but also how we can shape ourselves,
Absolutely. And then we have Laura Day again.
Back again with the intuition.
Gotta
love it.
She's saying that intuition is a skill we can develop, not
just some mystical thing.
So what are some ways we can cultivate our intuition? What would you...
And we talked about it a little bit before, but
paying
attention to those gut feelings, and then practices like meditation, journaling, spending time in nature, quieting the mind. That's key.
Yeah. That's a good reminder because I think a lot of times we override our intuition with Like
logic, yeah.
yeah.
The brains.
Overthinking.
Yeah.
In a way.
Okay. So we have a couple here that take a little bit more of a spiritual perspective.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So Serge Kahili King, again, mastering your hidden self. We talked about this in the first part.
Oh, yeah. The Huna tradition.
It's all about the power of intention and energy and how we can use that to like personally
Like transform ourselves.
transform ourselves, yes. And then we have
Very cool.
a book, The Spiritual Dimension of the Enneagram by Sandra Maitre.
And so the Enneagram is obviously like a really powerful tool for self-discovery.
Very popular these days.
Oh, so popular.
It's everywhere.
But this book goes beyond just knowing your type.
Yeah.
And it encourages us to use that knowledge for personal growth and spiritual development.
Oh, okay. So how do you actually use the Enneagram for spiritual growth? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, the Enneagram helps us understand our core fears and desires and motivations.
Yeah.
And by becoming aware of those patterns, we can start to, like, work with them consciously and move towards a greater sense of wholeness.
It's like using the Enneagram as a map to navigate our inner terrain. Right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about a lot here. We've talked about facing our shadows.
Embracing authenticity.
Different frameworks for self-discovery.
Yeah, we've covered some ground.
Now let's get a little mind-bendy. You ready?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
All right, so we have The Mind is Flat by Nick Chater. And he basically says that our sense of having a deep, rich inner world is actually an illusion.
What?
Yeah.
That's blowing my mind.
Right.
That's a big statement.
It's a big statement. He's basically saying our minds are way simpler than we think. And we're constantly constructing this experience of the world moment to moment.
So we're making it up as we go along.
Basically.
Wow.
Okay. So, and then, speaking of challenging assumptions, we have...
Yes, Scott.
We have The Truth About Men by Devin Franklin.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So this one I feel like is particularly relevant, especially right now. He offers a really raw and honest look at the pressures and expectations that men face in society. And he encourages men to, like, embrace their vulnerability, communicate openly, and challenge those traditional notions of masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
About the challenges men face.
Yeah. And of course, we can't talk about relationships without talking about dating.
Oh, no, of course not.
So you included The Dating Manifesto by Lisa Anderson.
Yes, I did.
And this one.
This is all about empowering women to be intentional in their love lives, you know, define what they want in a partner, set healthy boundaries. It's about knowing your worth and not settling.
Yeah, I love that.
Right.
I love that. And it all comes back to self-knowledge.
It all does.
It really does.
Knowing what you need, your desires, your values, so you can create relationships that align with your authentic self.
Yes. That's so good. It's amazing how all of these books, even though they're so diverse,
Also connected.
they all come back to that core.
It's that core idea.
Yeah, that's so cool. So we've talked about, you know, facing our shadows, authenticity, our spirituality, even challenging, like, the very nature of our minds.
Right.
What else you got for us?
Well, you've included some real gems that offer some unique perspectives.
Okay, lay it on me.
There's a book called Born on a Rotten Day by Hazel Dixon Cooper.
Okay, that title alone, what is that about?
It's hilarious. It's basically like a humorous and somewhat cynical take on astrology.
Okay.
She explores, like, the quirks and the less than stellar traits associated with each zodiac sign.
Oh, that's funny.
Right. It's a reminder that none of us are perfect,
Yeah.
even from an astrological perspective.
Love that.
So lighten up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. And then we have The Waste Books by George Christoph Lichtenberg. He's a thinker from the 18th century.
Oh, wow.
But his writings are still, like...
Still relevant today.
Oh, so relevant. Yeah. It's a collection of, like, aphorisms and reflections and observations. And he covers everything, like science and philosophy, art, human nature. What are some of the things that, like, you really resonated with in his work?
You know, what struck me most was his ability to observe. Like, he was a master of observation. He could notice these subtle details of human behavior and the absurdities of life, you know. And his writings really encourage us to look at the world with fresh eyes and to question everything.
That's awesome. It sounds like a treasure trove of wisdom, yeah.
A treasure trove. You got to dig it.
Okay, so you've also included some books that, like, focus on specific personality types or approaches.
Right. We got to get a little specific.
All right. So for INFJs, or anyone who is just interested in the creative process, we have The INFJ Writer by Lauren Sapala.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so INFJs are known for their introspection, their
These more
creativity,
thinkers.
deep thinkers. So what kind of insights and advice does she offer?
Well, she provides practical guidance
Hmm.
for INFJ writers, specifically, addressing their unique strengths and challenges.
Hmm.
And she encourages them to embrace their intuition, honor their need for solitude, and really find ways to express their unique voice.
That's awesome. It's so important to have like resources that are catered to those
Specific needs, yeah.
specific needs. And then for those who want a more like hands-on approach to self-analysis, we have Self-Analysis by Karen Horney.
Another classic.
Another classic, yes. She was a pioneer in psychoanalysis. And her book actually provides like a step-by-step guide to understanding and like reshaping our inner lives.
Wow. It's like having a therapist in a book.
It is, right.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So now we're moving into like finding your purpose, finding your calling.
The big question.
The big questions, yeah. So we have Courage and Calling by Gordon T. Smith.
This is a good one.
Yeah, this one's a good one. And he emphasizes that connection between faith and courage and finding your path in life. So what would you say are some key like insights that he offers for people who are really struggling with finding their purpose?
He says that, you know, don't approach it as a linear path, right? It's a journey of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Be open to new experiences, experiment with different paths, trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process.
Yeah.
It's about the journey. Not
Exactly.
like
And then there's The Diamond in Your Pocket by Gagaji,
oh, yeah.
which takes a more spiritual perspective on this.
Mhm.
She's saying, look inward to discover the joy and peace that's already there.
Mhm.
Don't seek it externally in achievements or whatever.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that your true essence is already whole and complete.
That's beautiful.
Right. You don't got to go searching for it. It's already there.
Okay. I love this next theme. The power of stories and how they shape our
Oh, yeah. Stories are powerful.
identities.
Oh, powerful.
So we have The Stranger in My Genes by Bill Griffith. He tells this really compelling story about how he, through a DNA test, found out that the man he called his father his whole life wasn't actually biologically related to him.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really powerful exploration of family, identity, and like these secrets that are hidden within our genes.
Wow. I mean, talk about your understanding of yourself being completely upended.
Totally. And
Right.
how we choose to like define ourselves
Right.
given that new information. So, and then we have A Life of One's Own by Marion Milner.
This one's interesting.
Yeah.
She explores self-discovery through her own diary entries.
Wow.
Yeah. And she talks about how important it is to pay attention to those small moments
Mm-hmm.
that shape our lives.
Yeah.
Because they can reveal profound truths about ourselves.
It's like finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Exactly. Those little moments that we
Yeah.
often overlook.
Totally. Okay, so we have a couple here that challenge conventional notions of self-improvement.
Oh, okay. I'm ready to be challenged.
All right. So we have Undoing Yourself by Christopher S. Hyatt.
Okay.
This one is not for the faint of heart. He encourages us to like question everything about ourselves.
Our beliefs, our
Or
assumptions.
break free from societal conditioning.
So it's like a radical approach to personal growth.
Very radical.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the like key principles he emphasizes?
Well, he encourages readers to challenge their beliefs, to confront their fears, and to embrace like their shadow selves.
Mm-hmm.
He says that true freedom comes from letting go of those limiting beliefs and embracing the fullness of who we are. You know?
Yeah, I love that.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
All of
That's
it.
all part of us.
Okay, so you've included a book here that talks about understanding like the dynamics between men and women.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
It's Keys to the Kingdom by Allison A. Armstrong.
Love her work.
She delves into like the fundamental differences between men and women.
Yeah, which are significant.
And it's not about reinforcing stereotypes or anything.
No.
It's about understanding those differences so we can communicate better.
Build stronger connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. Because so much conflict comes from just not understanding each other.
Totally. Okay, so now we're moving into the realm of self-acceptance and embracing your true self.
Okay.
You've got a couple of great ones here. We have How to Be You by Jeffrey Marsh. He's so inspiring.
Oh, I love him.
It's a beautiful and empowering guide to like living a life that's true to yourself.
Regardless of what society says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the like key takeaways from his book that you resonated with?
Well, he really emphasizes the importance of self-love, acceptance, celebrating our individuality. And his book is just filled with practical advice and heartwarming stories that encourage readers to embrace, like, their quirks and their imperfections.
Oh, I love that. And then you have Loved as I Am by Miriam James Heidland.
Oh, this is a good one.
In this one, she shares her own personal journey of healing and transformation, and she really emphasizes the power of God's love in accepting us exactly as we are.
Flaws and all, right?
Flaws and all, yeah. It's a really beautiful message. Okay, so we've covered so much.
We've been through a lot.
We have been through a lot in this section. We've talked about, like, authenticity,
facing our shadow,
finding our purpose,
understanding those dynamics between men and women.
It's amazing how many different facets there are
to self-knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. Before we dive into the last section, I want to pose a question to you, the listener.
Yeah.
Out of all the books and concepts we've talked about so far, which one resonated with you the most?
What sparked your curiosity? What challenged your assumptions?
Yeah. Take a moment to reflect on that question. And we'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive into your fascinating list of best Know Yourself books.
It's going to be good.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We have made it to the final part. I'm so curious what has resonated with you the most so far from all of this.
Yeah, me too.
It has been quite a journey.
We've covered some serious ground with all these Know Yourself books.
We have. It's been so much fun though, right?
Oh yeah, it's been a blast.
Okay, so we have a few more books to get through and then we'll wrap things up. Where are we starting?
Well, we left off talking about stories and how they shape our identities, and there are a couple more I want to mention. First, there's Born on a Rotten Day by Hazel Dixon Cooper.
Now that title, I remember, really caught my eye.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
It sounds so interesting. What's it all about?
It's basically astrology, but with a sense of humor. Like she talks about the not-so-great traits of each zodiac sign.
Okay.
It's kind of like a reminder that none of us are perfect,
right?
Even from an astrological perspective.
I love that. So it's kind of like astrology with a wink, right?
Exactly. It's lighthearted, it's fun.
Okay, I love that. And then we have The Waste Books by Georg Christoph Lichtenberg.
Now, this is one from way back.
Yeah, he's from the 18th century, right?
That's right. But his writing is, like, surprisingly relevant today.
Yeah, it's amazing how...
Timeless wisdom, right?
Yeah, how timeless some of these ideas are. What are some of the things from his work that you really connected with?
You know, he was just such a keen observer of human nature. He really noticed the little things, the quirks, the contradictions. And his writing encourages us to, like, question our assumptions and not take ourselves too seriously.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good reminder.
It is a good reminder, especially I feel like nowadays there's so much, seriousness out there. It's nice to have a little bit of that.
Lightness.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a couple more books that focus on like specific personality types or approaches to self-discovery. So for all the INFJs out there, we have The INFJ Writer by Lauren Sapala.
Oh, this is a good one for the creatives.
Yeah. So INFJs are known for like being introspective, creative.
Deep thinkers, yeah.
What kind of advice does she offer for writers specifically?
She's got a lot of practical tips, like how to develop a writing routine, how to overcome self-doubt, how to find inspiration. And she also talks about the unique challenges and strengths that INFJ writers face, like using their intuition and emotional depth in their writing.
That's awesome. So it's like a guide, but also just...
support.
Yeah. Encouragement.
For being yourself as a writer.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and then for people who want a more structured approach to self-analysis, we have Self-Analysis by Karen Horney.
Another classic.
Another classic. She was a pioneer in psychoanalysis, and her book actually provides a step-by-step guide to examining your thoughts and feelings and behaviors.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool.
Like a workbook almost.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really neat. Okay, so now we're getting into the big questions.
The big ones.
About finding your purpose and meaning in life. We have Courage and Calling by Gordon T. Smith.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, he talks about the connection between faith, courage, and finding your path. What advice does he give to people who are, like, really struggling to find their purpose? What would you say are some of his key insights?
He basically says, look, don't think of it as a straight line. It's going to be messy.
Right.
It's a journey, experiment,
Yeah.
Try different things.
Yeah, I love that.
And trust that, the path will reveal itself.
Trust the process.
Trust the process, exactly.
That's so good. And then we have The Diamond in Your Pocket by Gangaji.
Oh, I love Gangaji.
She takes a more spiritual approach to this idea of finding your purpose.
She's saying, look, the joy, the peace, it's already within you. You don't have to achieve anything to get it.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that wholeness that's already there.
That's beautiful.
It is.
I love that. Okay, so a couple more books about the power of stories.
All right. More stories.
Yes. We have The Stranger in My Genes by Bill Griffith. This one is like so fascinating. He discovered through a DNA test that the man he thought was his father his whole life wasn't actually biologically related to him.
Wow.
So it's really about family, identity, and how we define ourselves when like our whole understanding of our past
Shake it up.
is shaken up. Yeah.
What a story.
And then we have A Life of One's Own by Marion Milner.
Oh, this one's great.
Yeah.
It's all about self-discovery through like paying attention to the small moments in life.
Yeah.
She kept a diary, and she noticed how these like little, seemingly insignificant things actually revealed so much about herself.
I love that. It's like finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then for those who are ready to like shake things up a little bit,
Yeah, get radical.
we have Undoing Yourself by Christopher S. Hyatt.
This is a wild one.
It is a wild one. It's not your typical self-help book.
No, not at all.
He encourages readers to like really question everything they think they know about themselves and to break free from societal conditioning. So it's a pretty radical approach, I would say, to personal growth. What would you say are some of the like key things he emphasizes?
I mean, he's all about challenging your beliefs, confronting your fears, even embracing your like shadow side. He says true freedom comes from like letting go of all those limiting beliefs and just being your full self.
That's awesome. Okay, and then we have a book that talks about understanding the dynamics between men and women.
Oh, yeah, Keys to the Kingdom by Alison Armstrong.
Yes, and she offers like a really interesting perspective on the differences between men and women and how we can communicate better.
Yeah, it's not about reinforcing stereotypes or anything.
Right.
It's about understanding those fundamental differences
Yeah.
so we can connect on a deeper level.
So important. So important. Okay, so now we're moving into the realm of self-acceptance and embracing your true self.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, yeah. And we have two great books here. How to Be You by Jeffrey Marsh.
Oh, Jeffrey Marsh is the best.
He's amazing. Such an inspiring voice.
Yeah.
And his book is a beautiful guide to just like living a life that's true to yourself no matter what. What are some of the key takeaways from his book?
Self-love, acceptance, celebrating your individuality.
Yes.
It's about embracing your quirks, your imperfections. Just be you.
Be you. I love it. Okay, and then we have Loved as I Am by Miriam James Heidland.
This is a powerful one.
Yeah, she shares her own personal journey of like healing and transformation. And she talks about the power of God's love in accepting us, like fully.
Flaws and all.
Flaws and all, yeah. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into your incredible list of best know yourself books.
We did it.
We did it. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has. From philosophy to psychology, ancient wisdom, even a little bit of astrology.
I know, it's amazing, right? All these different paths that lead to that same destination.
That's right. Self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge. I'm feeling so inspired by all the wisdom we've uncovered, and I hope you are too, listener. So now, I want to leave you with this. Out of all these amazing books and concepts we explored, which one sparked a flame within you? Which one will you carry with you on your own journey of self-discovery? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beautiful complexity of who you are. Until next time, happy reading.